Hey, it's John Zocali here. I wanted to take a minute and talk about photography and do a little photo comparison. Right now we're looking at a great shot of Lower Manhattan at night. It's the building that replaced the World Trade Center in red, white, and blue. I love this picture. It really is a great one. Those of you who are following my social media, you know that I took up photography as more serious of a hobby than I had previously. Just a couple of years ago, I got myself a DSLR, and I was playing photojournalism around the Bay Area while being harassed and stalked by operatives of very different sources, including federal operatives, you name it, who were punishing me without a trial. While I was doing that, I learned some pretty cool things, and I started paying attention to professional photographers to see what they were doing, when I was thinking more about composition. And I noticed some really some neat things. I got in a photography group on LinkedIn and got into some discussions there where I got some feedback about photography. Some of it wasn't about photography, some of it was about buckshot. But anyway, I came across, and I've always been kind of a student of media. I'm a communications major. I worked in television. I had a friend in high school who was a decent photographer. His dad was a photographer. We both had our art class with photography in it. He was good, and I didn't have a clue. And then later I started getting an idea about it when I lived in New York, and I was kind of a casual photography hobbyist with an automatic. This only happens when I'm making one of these videos. I don't have anything else running. There's no reason that should be happening. But anyway, so I got into photography not long ago, and you've probably seen some of my pictures. And it's interesting to look at how different photographers will approach the same project in different ways. And I recently stumbled on a great example of that in a issue of Car and Driver magazine. Now, as you can see on the cover here, we have a 2014 Corvette and a Kia Stinger there on the inset, over there on the left. And the magazines, I think they usually have 3 feature articles in these Car and Driver magazines. And this one of the other features, other than the Corvette feature, was about a blue Subaru. And the photography in it, I didn't necessarily note. It had some special effects and etc. It was really kind of a very artsy kind of photography. But I thought that the other 2 features that appeared in that magazine were worthy of comparison to get a really great idea of how different photographers might approach a similar project in the same fashion. Now, the third feature in this magazine, this issue of Car and Driver, was this new Porsche. What a beautiful car that is. I can't imagine anybody who wouldn't be attracted to that vehicle. That is just a fantastic looking automobile. And it's a heck of a picture there, It's what is that, kind of a silver. The car is silver, and there's some blue sky and a little green grass in the back. It's just blasting down the road there, It's like life is good in this picture, right? Now, in the other feature, I said there was the yellow Corvette, and if we switch here, and I'm just going to do a quick switch, and an important thing that I want to mention here is if you were just leafing through the magazine, you didn't think too much about photography, you might not even think for a minute that there was anything significant, and maybe there's not, but I'm just looking at it from the photographer's angle, purely. But what I'm saying is if you were looking through, you might not notice, you might read this article, you might read one about the Corvette and think nothing of the photography in either one, even though it might have an impact on you that you don't know about. And there's the 2-page spread at the open of the Corvette article. And I tell you, this new Corvette is just such a fantastic looking vehicle. I think that, when people are looking to buy a sports car like that, or almost any car, I think the first thing they think about is how it looks on the outside. I think they can say they can talk about the performance of the engine and all the other, technical aspects of the vehicle. And I think the number one thing that anybody cares about is how the vehicle looks on the outside, And I'll tell you, the new Corvette is absolutely incredible. I think it's one of the best. My personal opinion is if they just get rid of that spoiler, they would have one of the best looking sports cars ever made. In league with that Porsche we were just looking at. I grew up in Northeast Ohio. My sister had a friend when we were young who her sister's husband had a white Corvette. It was a 78 or a 79. And when they visited the house, it was like a mini event. He'd pull it in and he'd do everyone the courtesy of not pulling it all the way in, and he'd just pull into the end of the drive, so the back of the car was just inside the sidewalk, and our house would empty out, and some other people would come out and gawk, and you see those kind of scenes in northern Ohio. Then I had another friend whose dad had a '65 Corvette convertible. It was red. It was stuck in their garage, and for whatever reason, it had been it wasn't in functioning, and every year it was the same thing. And we used to razz him about it because every year it was the same thing. Zoc, the Corvette's going to be ready this summer. Zoc, the Corvette's going to be ready. And one thing or another came up, and they never did get around to get that thing running back then. Even though I think I heard in later years that they did. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong, but there's a lot of that Corvette culture, in northern Ohio. So, but anyway, my point is, if you were leafing through and you wanted to study the different photography ideas, you wouldn't catch this. And the best way to do it is to flick back and forth and just kind of get an idea about the feel for what the photographers are going for. Two different photographers definitely taking two different angles at their art, in this magazine about cars. Now, I read an article about one of the articles about Corvette in this or one of the other magazines. Another Car and Driver issue had one about comparison of a new Corvette to a used Ferrari that were in a similar price range, which makes sense. That's how they do comparisons. They go by price range. Now, I think one of the articles I read mentioned that they've been covering Corvette a lot, which is really great of Car and Driver. I mean, they must be trying to help GM, because indeed, I happened to come across 3 Car and Driver magazines. One had the comparison. This magazine has this feature article on Corvette, and it has another one that's about a convertible Corvette Stingray. And it's in one of their columns called Drive Lines, and they even teased it in the contents of the magazine here, which you see on the left. On top there we have, again, that Kia Stinger. Then below that is the convertible Corvette, and below that is a guy who turned a VW Beetle into a dune buggy that's kind of like that cartoon Crazy Buggy when we were kids. Is that what it was called? Crazy Buggy? He made some kind of noise like that from the, I think, mid-'70s maybe. But anyway, and here is another opportunity to maybe make a little photography comparison. So first we've got this Kia Stinger, and that's a pretty nice looking shot. He's coming at you. His lights are on. And sunset, which is the best light of them all. A beautifully lit shot. Very pretty. And then we come down to the picture of the Corvette, and it's overcast skies. He's out on the open road in his convertible there, heading into what kind of looks like a forest, maybe. I don't know, but he's just out on the freeway. So could be anywhere. And then on the bottom, there's this fellow with his converted VW Beetle on another beautiful blue sky day with mountains in the background and some clouds floating around. And I tell you, I look at this picture and it rings a bell. I'll tell you, I can't. I've seen something like this somewhere not long ago, and I can't put my finger on it. Okay, I know that I've seen an image like this, and for the life of me, I can't remember where it was. You know, and I think I have a close up of that shot. Actually, yeah. Here's another one. You know what? The other one's actually a little better detail. This one, it is. This one's actually much better. Okay, so we'll just stick here. It's the same thing. You know, and yeah. Let's go back and take another look at that that comparison. Different photography styles. We've got the Corvette in a perfect profile, kind of low in the frame, with some mountains and cacti and the sun going down over the mountains there. A little blue sky up on the left. You know. And then over here we've got the this Porsche going downhill on a gorgeous day. You know, it's an interesting study in graphic design and layout and photography. You know, and then of course we get back here and once again convertible Corvette heading into the woods with overcast skies, and just can't put my finger on it.